Well, let's rewind back to the 2024 Women in Agriculture Conference. While we were out there in Kearney, Alex Makovica caught up with an extension educator to delve into the significance of effective communication for an agricultural operation. Here's her conversation.
We're joined now by Lisa. Lisa, one of your points was communication, talking about effective communication. First of all, when you think about communication, what are the important things that you are communicating with the people in your workshop?
So we talked about a lot of things in the communication session. Obviously, verbal communication is an important one. There's lots of ways we communicate. Linear communication, me just talking to you and just telling you something. That's what I did in that session. That's how a lot of how lectures and workshops are. But we really want this transactional communication. So we talked about what that means. That means it has to be a conversation and that we have to interact, and you have to be willing to let the person you're talking to communicate with you. And I think often, as we think about family farms, we think about directions on how to do stuff, we're often telling people, and we're not thinking about a conversation with someone, and that for both of us to understand what we're asking, that we need to both be involved in the conversation. So we kind of set the stage with that.
Okay, so you think about that. What are some tips for effective communication, whether it's on the family farm or operation? What does that look like?
So first and foremost, I think coming back to the idea that it is a conversation, that I'm asking questions, that I'm gaining perspective, that I'm actively listening, and that's more than just listening as I'm talking, that I'm deciding what I want to reply, right? It's stopping those words in our head to try and hear what the other person is saying, and then making sure you understand. We talked a lot about paraphrasing and rephrasing, that after I tell you how I'm feeling, you say, okay, this is what I think I heard. Am I correct? Because that's where you're going to find out whether you interpreted it correctly or not. It's interesting how words matter and how people interpret words differently. And we can all be thinking we know what the word means, but until we ask, or until we talk about it, until we converse, we may all be interpreting things differently.
It is 2024. People live on their cell phones. What role does texting and social media, and even just phone calls, maybe play into that conversation?
Yeah, that was a question that came up. Tell me what you think about texting. And while it has benefited us in so many ways, and it has allowed us to have this ongoing, constant communication, it is for the most part linear. Because I'm really sending you something without any body language, without any tone. You get to interpret the tone. You get to interpret what I said. And we have stopped talking, because it's just easier to do this and to send the messages back and forth and think, look how much more efficient we were. And we may be saving time. But if it is a conversation about anything where decisions need to be made, we need to problem solve, we need to come to some consensus, anything that's where a conversation should happen, it's not truly a conversation. Even if I reply, face-to-face conversations are always best in those tough situations, and where decisions need to be made. And so you can say I'm home, or I'm going to be home in 10 minutes, or hey, did you feed the dog, or all the things that could happen with a text. But when we're going to talk deeper level, we need to converse together.